Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Greenius, where we talk to amazing people who are helping the planet in fun and meaningful ways. Now today's guest is someone who truly followed his heart and took what was considered a big, brave leap. He used to live a fast-paced life in the city, and one day, he and his wife decided to leave it all behind and move to the gorgeous Himalayan mountains. What began as a mere dream turned into La Villa Bethany, a beautiful old home in Landor that they brought back to life using solar power, rainwater harvesting, and a whole lot of love. But what makes it special is the way they care for nature, for the local community, and for every guest who walks through their doors. He believes that homes should have a heart, and sustainability doesn't have to be complicated, just thoughtful. Today, we'll talk about life in the mountains, building an eco-friendly homestay, helping local communities, and all of the little choices we can take to lead a greener life right now. So get ready for an hour full of fresh air, sunshine, and simple, impactful ideas that we can try too. Please welcome to the Greenius, the amazing Mr. Amarjeet Kudle.
Hello, Bella.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good, thank you. And you?
Very well. Very well. So nice to connect with you.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Yes,
First of all, congratulations. And, the name of the podcast is absolutely wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
It's a stroke of genius. So
Thank you
congratulations
so much.
on that. Congratulations on that.
So
Yes.
would you first like to introduce your homestay?
Thank you, Bella, for this wonderful opportunity. The homestay that Sunita and we run in the mountains, it's called, the flagship property is called La Villa Bethany. And now, by the grace of the Almighty, we have 7 more places. So we have a total of 8 that we run within a 30-kilometer radius. And I hope you remember your time when you came last.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. I remember. It was amazing. It's so beautiful.
So life in the mountains has been good. We feel very blessed to be in the Himalaya.
Yeah.
To be here in the midst of nature, to try and do our little bit for sustainability, and also the fact that we help employ local youth. So that's the other focus that we had when we started our homestay, was to create employment for the local youth. So that was something that was very near to our heart for both Sunita and I. Our homestays are based here. As you know, Landor is a small cantonment town with only 24 private estates.
Yeah.
The rest all belongs to the army. And in 2010, we were very, very fortunate to find this one very quaint English cottage, about 106 years old at that time. Now it's about 119 years old. Yeah. So around 121 years old right now. So we took this cottage and we converted it into a homestay. It was on the block. The owners, it's a mission. They wanted to sell it off, but then we impressed upon them and we convinced them not to sell it.
Yeah.
We told them that we have a vision for the place. It will be something that will be, if you're interested, we could arrive at a win-win. And they were very kind enough to hear us patiently, and they agreed to what we said, and everything happened within a quick short amount of time. And over the last 15 and a half years, La Villa Bethany has gone on to win many international accolades and awards. In 2023, TripAdvisor ranked us as the 4th best homestay in Asia, the second best in India.
It's amazing. What an achievement.
Thank you.
You must be so proud. Now, you call your homestay a home with a heart. What does that mean in a sustainability sense? Can your homes have a heart for the planet as well?
Well, absolutely. One of the first things we did when we started the La Villa Bethany, and I must give you a little backstory. After my stint with the Oberoi hotels, I worked with the British. I worked with the British Foreign Office. I worked with the British Foreign Office as the head of the Regional Training Center for South Asia. And in my tenure with the British Foreign Office, I had the privilege of meeting a lot of people who worked in sustainable energy,
Yeah.
solar energy, water, all different kinds, wind and turbine. And we would have lots of interesting talks in the after hours. And one of the first things that my colleague had told me many years ago was that water, going forward, water is going to be one of the most precious resources in the world.
Yeah.
He had told me that wars will be fought on water in the future.
Yeah.
And that message somewhere kind of got embedded in my heart. And I decided, when I was working on the renovation of La Villa Bethany, the first thing we did was to incorporate rainwater harvesting. Sorry.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And also the use of solar energy. So I think for me, when you say, a home with a heart, I think the home with the heart, I think it comes for the environment, more so in terms of going forward. And as a hospitality professional, one of the things that hoteliering and hotels around the world, we have a major carbon footprint.
Yeah.
In terms of the amount of resources that we use of Mother Nature. And for me, my personal mission was that in any way, even in a small, minute way, if I could give back to Mother Nature by doing things in the right way, I'll be most happy to do it. So we were one of the first establishments in the entire city of Mussoorie and Landor to use solar energy and incorporate solar energy for cooking, solar energy for hot water, and also incorporating rainwater harvesting. So just to give you a little bit of trivia, we are one of the few places, in fact, maybe the only place in Mussoorie and Landor, where we don't use water tankers during season time. We are self-sustaining in terms of our water needs.
That's amazing. That's so good to see that, people can use Mother Nature in a way that actually helps her instead of harming her.
Absolutely.
So you spoke about La Villa Bethany using solar energy and rainwater harvesting, using these natural resources to help sustain for yourself. How does this work, and why is it important?
Right. So as I said earlier, having a sustainable place was something which was very close to my heart. One of the things that we did, trying to make it more sustainable, besides using rainwater harvesting and solar energy, is that we only employ local youth.
Yeah.
As part of the sustainability project, we try and create employment for the local youth. Everybody that's directly or indirectly associated with us are all local businesses. We encourage, we buy local, Bella. Those things that cannot be avoided in terms of, procuring things from other parts of the country, we do that. But in terms of your perishables, your groceries, everything we try and procure locally, thereby helping sustain local businesses, little mom and pop shops in the corner. We try and help them. People who are, local taxi operators, we give them business. And also one of our biggest commitments towards local sustainability is we encourage the guests who stay with us to go into the local markets and buy local produce to take home. So just to give you an idea, we are a stone's throw away from a legendary store called the Prakash Stores that makes peanut butter, jams and jellies. These are locally made. And we kind of encourage guests to carry a few with them as little souvenirs of Landor. There are a lot of nice, very quaint boutique shops that make leather goods, that make bespoke footwear. So you can go to them and make a nice pair of shoe for yourself that is tailor-made only for you. They actually take the markings of your foot on a piece of paper or on a sheet of paper, and then they'll customize the shoe for you. So in our own little way, we try and encourage our guests to support the local economy.
Many people talk about sustainability being renewable energy and being kind to animals, but it also has an entirely different face of actually supporting the land, because that also makes such a big difference. You're not getting things imported, which means that's less pollution, less carbon footprint, and you're supporting the land around you, meaning it's encouraging the people to actually use what's around them in a good way.
Absolutely, Bella. Just one thing, as I said, all our perishables we buy from the local suppliers. There are a lot of villages in the on the north face of the mountain, and they grow. They use step farming to grow their produce. And what has happened over the years is that the moment they pluck it out of the ground, the moment they harvest the produce, they wash it and they immediately bring to us. So that's another
Yeah.
great thing. That's another great thing about sustainability, is that the duration from the farm to the fork is literally half an hour, 40 minutes. So it helps them earn their livelihood. At the same time, what happens for us is that we are able to give our guests the freshest of producers, you know and also in terms of them being quite organic.
Yeah, it's even better for the planet as well. No pesticides being put on them because
Yes.
they don't need to like stay for long distances, like traveling
Yeah.
across the seas and sky. But it's
Yeah.
amazing that this is
Yeah. So,
happening and showing that not only in big cities is a lot of stuff happening, but even
yes.
small villages, everyone's doing their part. And I think if
Yes.
everyone can take inspiration from that, it would make such a big difference, right?
Absolutely, Bella.
You live in the mountains in beautiful Landor. What do they teach you every day about taking care of the earth?
My God, that's such a beautiful question. Living in the mountains is such a privilege. You know, coming from the cities, coming from the metros. I consider Sunita and I. We consider ourselves extremely fortunate that we got this opportunity of staying in the Himalaya. It's a very, very fragile ecosystem, and as you know, it's one of the youngest mountain ranges in the world. Very,
Of
very
course.
susceptible to environmental changes or environmental damages. Uh, we, in our own way, a lot of the one of the first things we did. So, La Villa Bethany is spread over 1.25 acres, and it's blessed with a lot of tree cover. But in our own way, what we did was we also went around planting a lot of trees. So we've planted over 200 trees on our land, out of which, of course, and to be very honest with you, out of those 200 trees, the survival rate has been just about 10 to 15%. We've planted rhododendron trees, we've planted junipers, we've planted pine, we've tried and planted we've planted cedar trees. So in our own little way, we've tried to incorporate this into the mountains. It's a very, very we also do another very important thing that I'd like to share with you, is in trying to help the Himalayas sustain, is we discourage at the time of reservations, we discourage our guests to bring their own vehicles into the
Yeah.
mountains. That's the other thing. I'm sure you must have read somewhere that the hill stations in the mountains are getting choked with a lot of private vehicles coming during season time, and then that's creating a lot of massive jams. So what we do on our part is, when we engage with the guests at the time of reservation, we we discourage them from bringing their private vehicles. We encourage them to take public transport, and we tell them that we'll send local taxi providers, local taxi drivers, to pick you up from the airport or pick you up from the railway station and bring you to Landau, thereby minimizing the carbon footprint. So this
Of
is something that
course.
we are doing. This is something which is within our circle of influence, and we are trying to encourage and trying to educate the guests in saying that when you come and stay with us, you do it responsibly with
Yeah.
with leaving a minimum carbon footprint.
Of course, everyone's doing their part, even if it's only in a small way. Like
Yes.
our biggest thing at this podcast is sometimes the smallest of actions really do make the biggest differences. Because if
Yeah.
everyone starts doing their part little by little, then the difference will like grow majorly instead of
Yeah.
one person going and planting 2,000 trees. That rarely ever happens. You spoke about the amazing amount of trees you have. Do you think that
Right.
affects your mental health? Is the planet impacting you?
Oh, it absolutely is. It's something that is so important to understand, that at the end of the day, it's the trees that sustain life on the planet. And just to give you an idea, right now in India, there's something that is on everybody's mind. People keep talking about this, is the AQI. They talk about the air quality index.
Yeah.
uh, in the coming days, after the monsoon is over, the AQI in Delhi will be very, very high, very severe. It will be
Yeah,
like
very bad air quality.
very
Yeah.
bad quality. Fortunately, where we live, the air quality over here hovers somewhere around the 30. While in the cities it's 400 and 500 and 600, and that means that you are literally breathing fresh air.
Every single
So,
day. Yeah.
every single day. And that, I think, is one of the biggest blessings of being in the mountains, is that the air quality that you're breathing is absolutely
Beautiful.
pure.
Gorgeous.
It's there, the air, just being amongst the trees. And there is a scientific fact that when you live amongst deodar trees, you will never have any respiratory illnesses. So this is something which I consider as a big blessing of living amongst trees.
I agree. Yeah. On our property at home, we have like touching 70 trees,
Lovely.
trees and plants. I think if everyone can, like, even if it's just a small little potted plant on your balcony, like my
Yes.
grandma has, it's
Yes.
still like making a difference on her as well. You go
Oh, absolutely.
outside and it changes her too.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think in the cities, and this is something that the world can learn from China, is they're creating vertical gardens.
Yeah.
Everyone living in high-rise buildings can incorporate a lot of greenery in their homes, in their balconies. If you have like a penthouse, you could convert your terrace into a nice
garden.
garden. So I think it's not just the government's responsibility, but I think every individual citizen, if they can
Yeah.
do a little bit within their circle of influence to help Mother Nature, the world will be a better place going forward.
Of course, everyone is born with a purpose, and a small part of that purpose is taking care of the earth that we live in, because of course, as many people say, we don't have a planet B. So we need to work to protect what we have going here. It's such a beautiful planet. Sometimes it may be overlooked, but we just need to remind ourselves really what a beautiful planet we live on. Wow, what an inspiring first part to our conversation. From leaving behind the bustling city to building a homestay that's powered by sunshine and filled with heart, Mr. Kudle has shown us that living green is all about the choices we make, one step at a time. To all of you listening, you don't need a mountain or a bungalow to start your own journey. You can start right now at home by planting a seed, using less water, or even putting off the lights when you leave the room. Join us next time to dive deeper into his perfect green day and more on how he rebuilt his homestay. So don't miss it. Tune in for more mountain magic and big-hearted ideas. Stay curious, stay kind, and never forget, sometimes the smallest of actions make the biggest difference. This is Valerie, and you're listening to The Greenius.